Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Ladies and gentlemen, this one's going to be fun. I'm so excited to introduce to you Scott Sery and Fichter. They're both from Havoc Mindset. This is a program dedicated to helping people break free from the mental blocks holding them back. You won't believe Shane's story. It's amazing. They are working with people who feel stuck. They're guiding them to uncover self-limiting beliefs, past experiences that have created those beliefs. And through one-on-one and group training, Havoc Mindset empowers clients to overcome these barriers, shift their mindset, and then set the stage for personal and professional growth. Get ready to meet some guys who are helping people really unlock their full potential. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the question I always ask first, which is, who are you serving and what problems are you helping them to solve?
I would say that we're serving entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to, get past that barrier of limiting beliefs, like you said. So, all of us, I believe, our success and where we are in our life, the decisions we make, what we do for a living, the relationships we're in are all deeply tied to our self-worth, right? That story that we're telling ourselves in our head about us and the world around us, and for a long time, my story was real messed up. I discredited myself because of the hard things that I've been through in my life, when in all actuality, the hard things that we go through in our life is probably the things that are going to make us more capable of greatness if we can own those things and find the strengths that are hidden within those hard situations.
Oh, I love this. You're singing my song, man. This is so cool. So cool. All right. Oh, anything to add, Scott?
Yeah, I guess the problems we solve are more of just being stuck. Some of our clients have come to us, they were stuck in a relationship and they got that fixed, but then they also ended up discovering other areas where they're stuck. They ended up losing weight, even though they didn't come with the goal of losing weight, but it was all that mindset, changing mindset in one area, and it just overflows into all these other areas where they were having issues working out, eating right, but for some reason they weren't losing weight. They had to fix their mindset elsewhere until then that would overflow into everything else. So it's just the problem of being stuck, and how do you move forward?
We humans tend to get stuck a lot of places, don't we? It's like, what the heck?
Well, yeah.
There's a sticking point, we get stuck, right?
We had a coaching client that was a server at a diner for like 25 plus years. And his only goal was to get out of that diner, right? To just step his life up into a better career or whatever. And now he owns his own commercial cleaning business right here in Billings, Montana. And he talks to customers when he used to be very reserved and shelled up and scared to talk to people. He's very outgoing now. He's been on the radio. Really proud of him. So that's kind of the idea.
What a huge thing. Like, he stepped into a whole new life just by being unstuck. Unstucked, right? Unstuck it. I think that sounds very regal. We'll go with that.
Yeah, definitely.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it for him was not opening up and saying some of the things that he needed to say to some of the people that were from his past or from his life, And once he started having those hard conversations, it kind of opened him up to being more open to talking to people and talking about himself and his feelings and, feeling better about himself.
That's amazing. All right, this is cool. Now, you guys don't look like the kind who are like sitting around talking about your feelings. And, you're rugged guys from Montana. This is like,
oh yeah.
How did this happen? How did you come here?
So how we kind of got here is kind of a long story, but I'll go for it. So my childhood was pretty rough. My mom was a drug addict my whole life. We jumped around a lot. I went to like 9 different elementary schools, never really had a stable place to live. We were always living with friends. My father left when I was 2, so she was a single mother. And then when I was 13, I decided I wanted to reach out to my father, and I tried calling him. And the whole reason that my mom left him was because he wouldn't settle down with us. He wanted to keep living that quick life that he was living. He was selling drugs, riding motorcycles, racing boats. And so when I call him when I was 13, a woman answers the phone and I could hear kids in the background. So in my little 13-year-old mind, I was like, oh, you can't settle down for us, but now you have a new family. Well, when I told him my full name, he actually hung up on me. And I called him back, I cussed him out, and then I hung up, and I kind of justify it as like, this guy was never a part of my life. Fuck him. I don't really care that he's in my life anyways. I acted like I was stronger than that, right? I didn't care because he wasn't around, but it was really just anger and avoidance. But about 6 months after this whole incident of me calling him, he actually committed suicide. So I ended up not getting any closure on this situation. And that's also when I started smoking and drinking and partying and looking for acceptance in other places, other male figures, crime, whatever you want to say. And when I was 17, I started taking opiates, and that was kind of the beginning of my opiate addiction. And then by the time I was 25, I was using heroin, I was shooting up. And by the time I was 27, I had multiple overdoses, robbed a guy at gunpoint, doing a lot of stupid stuff. I moved to Montana because I'm originally from California to kind of turn my life around. And all that did was me finding a new crowd and learning that I could make a lot of money bringing things from California up to Montana. So after having multiple overdoses, I ended up in jail and I hit rock bottom. Went through a 35-day withdrawal off of all the drugs and alcohol that I was drinking. And that was like probably one of the most darkest times of my life. I burned every bridge. I didn't have anybody to talk to on the outside, but it was also the biggest eye-opener for me ever. When you hit rock bottom and your back's against the wall and there's nowhere else for you to go, you just go right through it, right? So when you start talking about like those feelings and talking about those emotions, I started journaling about all those feelings and those emotions. I started writing, I started working out, I started reading every book I could get my hands on. And I started to learn that this story that I had been running from my whole life, I needed to face, And after being locked up and going to treatment, I ended up going to the Metro here in Montana and seeing some MMA fights. And I remembered how much I loved like wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu as a kid. And, speaking of MMA, I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background, but I'm actually at the MMA gym. So you can hear like people hitting bags and the bells going off in the background. But sorry about that. But then I went to the MMA gym after I saw these fights because I just remembered how much I loved wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu as a kid. And I ended up making that my new heroin addiction. I ended up just diving into that. And I started realizing that a lot of the unique qualities that I had in MMA came from my hard childhood. It came from this life that I had lived. And I had a lot of unique qualities that other fighters didn't have. I was tougher. I was more resilient. I started owning that story that I had been running from. I started telling that story. When they would do interviews, I'm like, they'd say, why do you know you're going to make it to the top? You sound real confident about it. And I'm like, well, I've climbed through glass to get here and I'll climb through glass to get there. Like, you don't know where I've been. And that just started creating this new confidence for me, right? It started creating this confidence of, no, I am going to be great because I came from this place. I started owning those and I started actually journaling about all the hard situations in my life. And I started asking myself, and I learned this actually in CCP, which is a drug rehab facility. They have us do this thing called a timeline. And they had us write out all the good and bad experiences that we had in our life, showing us how we escalated to get to our crime. And I ended up realizing that all of those hard situations in my life were actually limiting beliefs to me. So I started asking myself in my journal, okay, what skills, talents, and traits did I learn from this situation? Like, how did I benefit? And it would blow your mind, like I was scared to use food stamps as a kid. I always thought we were less than. I always thought that we were, not good enough because we were poor. But I learned how to problem solve from my childhood. That's actually what I think made me an entrepreneur. And so anyways, I had my MMA career, and that's actually where I built my personal brand, was through MMA. You can actually probably say that Havoc Mindset was built from MMA, the discipline that goes on in it. I learned so much about life, I feel like, from MMA. And in a very short period of time, in 4.5, 5 years, I did a lot in the sport, which is pretty unheard of. I went to Thailand, trained and fought over there, with some of the best and trained with some of the best fighters in the world. I fought in a world tournament in Colorado called the King of Sparta, and, went really far really quick. And I think it was because of that addictive, compulsive behavior, right? It was because of that childhood that I had. All the ass whoopings I had when I was a kid, it was reflecting into this career now. Yeah. And my MMA career though was, like I said, my main attribute in MMA was that I was tough. I could take a punch and I could listen to my coach. So I ended up getting knocked out. Like Scott said before we got on here, probably one too many times, ended up having a really bad concussion and having to retire from MMA for a while. And I didn't do what most people think you would do when that kind of situation happens, because I felt like I was this close to the big show and then it all got taken away from me. And this could have been a very pivotal time where I maybe relapsed, but I had still been journaling. I had still been working out. I had still been reading. I knew where I was going. I knew the direction I was going in because of self-development. I was tapping into why I think the way I think, why I do the things I do, and how to use those as a skill and a talent. So after I ended up getting that concussion, I ended up coming back to Montana and starting a drywall business. And I started speaking at different drug rehab facilities. I started doing motivational speaking because I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I wanted to tell my story, And I would honestly say that if that concussion didn't happen, I probably don't know where I would be right now. So I think that everything that's hard that happens in our life honestly happens for a reason.
Yeah. Oh man. And it sounds like you worked on, MMA is so physical, so grueling. My brother does, it's insane how you guys can
Yeah.
The training on this, but you did that for the inside of you as well, which is so
Yes.
cool. You were as
Yeah.
relentless, in focusing on this, because it could have gone totally sideways when you've had that concussion.
sure.
This is over, okay, guess what? Here's another twist in the road that wasn't quite what you thought. But that's
Exactly.
really cool.
Yeah, I think that mental gym is just as important as going to the physical gym,
Yeah. And you're doing this, and the people that you're serving are doing this. So how are
Yes.
people how are they working with you? They're, is it group coaching? What does it look like for people they work with you?
Yeah, so we do different challenges. We also do a group coaching program called the Academy of Hard Knocks, which you can probably guess why it's called that. And then we also do public speaking. So we speak at different schools. We spoke at a dental office to 70 or 80 different employees. Because honestly, it's all about changing that story that you're telling yourself in your head about you and the world around you. And I think that was what I ended up getting really good at. Scott as well. So Scott is the writer of my book, so he knows my story inside and out. So our whole program is based off of learning these ideas that relate in your story from my story, right? Because we are all relatable. We all have things that we relate in, And I think that we pull a lot of clients from motivational speaking. We pull a lot of clients from MMA, honestly, a lot of my fighters that I coach, because I also coach boxing. We honestly also pulled a lot of clients in person from my kava bars. So I ended up opening 2 kava bars after my drywall business, because I got 2 years into my drywall business. I had done drywall my whole life, and I loved, starting a business, but I hate drywall. I couldn't stand it. So I ended up selling the business and starting a couple kava bars. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of kava or not, but
So I think I have. I've been to Fiji. Now let me see if
Yes.
this is the same kava, right? So it's made
It
from
is.
this root, right? And they pound the living daylights out of this stuff, put it in water. It looks like dishwater. It tastes
It
like
does.
dishwater. And
It
then
does.
your brain is totally fine, but eventually your body is like totally uncooperative. Is
Yeah.
that the same stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about uncooperative. So kava, like you said, it's a root from like Fiji, Tonga, Hawaii, and what they do is they would, grind up the root, strain it with water, and then you shoot it out of a coconut shell. And what it does is the kava lactones in kava will actually lower your anxiety levels and give you that social, bubbly, talkative feeling that alcohol might give you, but none of the drunken impairedness.
Right.
So these kava bars are kind of blowing up all over the United States, especially after COVID, because people are trying to be healthier. They're trying not to drink. And you get that social aspect without the bar. It's like you get all the pros of the bar and none of the bullshit that goes along with it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
kava
that's
makes you want to talk, makes you want to conversate, makes you want to open up.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I've noticed is all the people that go to a kava bar, they're trying to be healthier. So they're trying to be 1% better, They're probably diving into a little bit of self-development. And
Yeah.
a lot of them are recovering alcoholics, recovering addicts, or just people that don't want to drink as much, or people that are trying to find an alternative. And it's something that's actually blowing up all over the United States now. Florida was where it really took off, and now it's kind of branching out. And I found it because I was at a UFC fight camp out in Florida, and I ended up going to this kava bar, and I just fell in love with it. It was like beach bum atmosphere, but you had all walks of life in there. You had successful business owners, college kids, athletes, doctors, lawyers, ex-convicts, but everybody was talking as if they were family. Everybody was opening up. And I had a couple shells of this kava and I talked for hours to absolute strangers, and like therapeutic, passionate conversations, not
Yes.
the ones you have at the bar that you forget about the next day,
Right. The deep one. Yeah, it's wild. So when we were there for a couple weeks. We were out on this kind of wild, but they had like a men's group. So they invited my husband to go, and they were giving him double. So like, it's going around.
Oh,
going
yeah.
around, and they give him, and then do it again. Okay, he's getting 2 for every one. They end up all crawling out eventually. He walks
Jeez.
out upright, and they're like, dude, you sure you're not Fijian? Like, no, but I did a lot of stuff in college, but like, that stuff is wild. But yes, I think it's a fantastic use for this, because it really helps to break down that sense of, oh, I can't talk about this. I can't talk
Yes.
about anything. I can't have a deep,
Yeah.
meaningful conversation with somebody who doesn't like that trust level, right? To have
Yeah,
that's amazing.
definitely.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
and
right, so what happened next?
So the last one that we did, it grossed $1 million in a year.
Wow.
The first one that I opened up in Montana is still living strong and doing well. A partnership, we kind of went different ways. I opened up another one, and now I'm just kind of full force all the way into Havoc Mindset. I don't really like running a brick and mortar business, I'm finding. I really want to inspire people. I really want to help other people realize that the things that have happened in their life are actually what makes them uniquely them, authentically them. And when you can find that thing that makes you special from other people because of your story, it's just life-changing. And that's why we're so excited for the book to come out. It should be coming out hopefully in the next month. I feel like we keep saying that, but books are hard to get out there.
They are hard. Yes. And Scott, all right, so here's the amazing thing. So many entrepreneurs, it's like we get started, we have this like download from whatever, the universe, or like whatever, some inspirational point, right? We get this, E-Myth talked about it, of an entrepreneurial spasm or something like this. Like it hits us, right? And then we're off and running. And then later on at some point, we're like, this is a lot. I can't do this just on my own. And then trying to find somebody to partner with. We have trial, error. We've got, for you guys to have found each other, and Scott, for you to have written Shane's book, it's like you get, this guy, you're ready. How has this been like for you guys working together, and Scott specifically, like what drew you into going, yes, I have these writing talents, I want to throw everything I've got behind this project?
Yeah, so over the years I found that I don't make a good coworker. Most of it is just, I'm on the autism spectrum, so I just don't really understand kind of those dynamics in an office setting. They frustrated me. I got yelled at more than once for not saying hello every single day on my way in. I'm like, I see you every day. Why do I have to say hello every day?
I said it last week, right?
Yeah, it's like if something new happened, sure, we can talk about that, but I don't need to stop into every office and say good morning, because there's nothing good about being in the office every single morning. So
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, I had an acquaintance that was running a local magazine. They asked me to write a story for them, write a little article, and I was like, oh, sure, I'll do that. And they ended up paying me like $20 for it. And I was like, oh, well, I could probably do more of this, kind of supplement my income and, make some money on the side. So I started pursuing that and learned how to do some blogging and got a few blogging jobs here and there, and then learned how to do copywriting so I could help businesses with their copywriting needs, just get a better message out there for them. And about 4 years ago or so, I started doing books. And so around that time was when Shane approached me and he said, hey, I've been told I should write a book. I have this book in my mind. I need to get it out, but I'm not a good writer. And it's like, well, let's do it. And so just kind of sat down and went through it. We did a ton of interviews. I bet there's 100 hours of interviews that to get all his stories out and just transformed into a book. It's 99% done now. Basically, we just have I have a few highlighted sections that I need a little bit more information on. Just was confused when I went back through and read it. There's things that pop out. Once those are done, then we can send it off to an editor and designer and get it done. Just kind of depends on how long those editors take. Sometimes they're backed up. Sometimes it's just a couple weeks.
Oh yeah. That's great. And it's funny. I've done the same. Like, we have similar trajectories here, and I know, like, doing a book for somebody is just an incredible. The last book I wrote for somebody, I actually married the guy, so it's a very intimate process. Right?
Yeah. And see,
crazy.
what I think that is so magical about me and Scott meeting is because, once again, like, his unique superpower is the thing that, for a while probably held him back. He didn't want to be in the office. He didn't want a career, but he's a genius. Like, honestly, like, when I met him, he was still actually doing, I think, small biographies, 1,000-word biographies. And I was like, I need a ghostwriter. And everybody that I talked to, 4 or 5 different people, were like, you need to talk to Scott. He's a genius at writing people's biographies. Like, you need to talk to Scott. You need to talk to Scott. So we just hit it off. And I think that, once again, like you said, like, being on the spectrum and stuff, like, that's his superpower, like that's what makes him a genius. And he's honestly been a great partner, because he's been very patient with me. I've opened kava bars since we started writing this book. I've done a lot of things since we write this book. So it's been a lot of, like, go, pause, go, pause, go, pause. But I think it's going to be an unbelievable book. We've had a couple people kind of like test read it, and they're just like into it. They can't wait for it to come out. So
that's awesome. That is so exciting. What's the name of the book?
So it's going to be, I believe this is our final thing, is what we think is called Addict: From Chains to Champion. So
I love it. I gotta tell you, I love a single word title and then like a longer subtitle. That is the best way to go.
We probably played with 15 or 20 different ideas, and they were all just too long. We were trying to do it the other way around, a longer title and then maybe a subtitle. Yeah. And then finally I was looking through some of these other books that I'd worked on, some other books that I was reading. I'm like, they're all super short, 1 or 2 word titles, and then a subtitle. I'm like, okay, let's flip this around. What's one word that we can use that describes the bulk of this book? And that's addict. It was, growing up, son of an addict, becoming an addict, becoming addicted to entrepreneurship and running businesses. It's like the same energy throughout the whole book. It just, where is it focused? And the bulk of the middle section of focusing on drugs and alcohol, the addiction energy was focused into obviously negative things. And then the third part of the book is focusing that same energy. It's the exact same person. It's Shane taking and channeling it and saying, okay, I channeled it this way. That's where, the pleasure centers of my brain wanted it to channel. And that very much did not work out for me. And so he channeled that into MMA, that exact same, what am I going to do to get my next fix, turned into, what am I going to do to win my next fight? And so it's just, Addict sums it up nicely, and it kind of flows into the Havoc Mindset coaching as well. What's your addiction? Everyone has one. You just need to find it and then focus it to something positive.
Amazing. And you guys both have your superpowers that you're bringing to this, which is so cool. So there are superpowers in addiction. Like, you get
Yeah.
You're gonna get it done. You're like, you're going after it, whatever the thing, there's that resilience, there's that persistence, all that. And then
Yeah.
definitely my hubby's also on the spectrum. So it's like I'm like, your brain is so magnificent,
Yeah.
and all these
I think
things.
that's what makes our dynamics so good too, is because like he writes all my speaking, all that, he writes all that. So like he's already read my book. He knows all the stories. So when I go to talk at a school, he knows how to form that talk around what I need to be speaking to these students, the message, right? We go to a business. He is able to do all the outline, what stories to tell, everything like that to deliver the right message, So it's definitely a good duo.
That is so cool. That's so cool. All right, man, I'm excited for this. And all right, we got to shift into the thing, because I always ask about this too, is like, how do you, the whole thing for Entrepreneurs Gone Wild is I feel like we do our best, most creative thinking in nature. So how do each of you spend time in nature? And then how do you collect those ideas so they don't like escape?
Scott's is going to be way more extravagant than mine because he is amazing. That guy's in the mountains all the time. He's fishing, he hikes, he wall climbs, rock climbs. Like, for me, I love taking my kids to the river. We'll hike and we'll walk, and we'll take our shoes off, walk in the sand, get that grounding. Me and my wife have always tried to get them outside to go camping. We play soccer, play basketball. But mostly, I think hiking, fishing a little bit. Being in Montana, I don't think you can actually get away from doing that stuff. But I also like to meditate. Oh, it is. I also like to meditate. Sometimes I'll go up on the rims. We have this beautiful rim wall that goes all the way around Billings, Montana. And when you sit up on those rims, you can see like the whole town. So I like to sit up there and meditate and just kind of listen to the birds and everything like that. And something you said before we started recording that really hit home for me was, sitting in that silence and having those good ideas come up. As humans, we're always in noise. They say the best ideas come in when you're driving your car or you're in the shower. And that's because we're never in silence, So I always try to push a lot of our clients, man, go sit in silence for a while. Just sit there with your journal and just write down any thought that comes up. Just dump it out on paper, So many of us, I think journaling and getting things out on paper is probably one of the most important things that helped me through my journey. And it's interesting, we know more about space than we do the conscious mind, right? Mm-hmm. And if I was to ask you to do a really hard math question, but I said you couldn't have a calculator, what would you ask me for? You'd ask me for a pen and a piece of paper. Yeah. So why do we think that we can just figure all this stuff out up here? You know what I mean? It's like, come on, right? So sit in silence, write down those ideas. That's one of my most powerful things when it comes to sitting in nature, I would say. Scott's going to be probably a way better idea of what to do, I think, because he's got all kinds of stuff he does outdoors.
No pressure, Scott. What is it?
Yeah, so actually, I heard a radio show a couple weeks ago. I didn't catch most of it. I was driving and just had about 5 minutes of the middle of the show, but it was a child psychologist was on there, and he said, as a whole, as a species, basically, humans have forgotten how to get bored. We have so many different methods of alleviating boredom now that we've forgotten how to be bored. And that's where all great ideas and interesting things and new concepts come from, is when you're so bored, you have to invent something new to think about. But now I got 30 extra seconds. I'm going to play a game on my phone. And so this podcast and what you're all about is get away from all this stuff, get yourself into nature, get bored, explore, find something. Kind of where I go when there's not enough time. We have a pretty big garden. It's actually, right now it's February 4th, and about February 25th, I'll plant all my seeds indoors so we can start getting those growing. And then all summer long, me and my family, we're out there. Even when there's nothing to do, just they're growing, we just wander around and, pull the tiny little weeds and check on the garden and soak up some sunshine and everything. Generally speaking, I don't, have my phone out there. It's probably in my pocket, but I'm not like staring at it as I'm wandering through the garden. I'm thinking about other things. When there is more time, there's a lot of lakes and rivers around, so I do a lot of fishing. Get out there, we do a lot of hunting. During the summer, get into the mountains quite a bit. Wasn't last summer, 2 summers ago, took my 10-year-old and we went and we climbed Granite Peak, the tallest mountain in Montana.
Oh, wow.
It's about a 11-ish mile hike to get to the base of it, and then you camp out, and the next day you climb the mountain and come back down. So those are always a lot of fun. You have to focus on what you're doing. I got a friend that's getting big into rafting rivers, and so he's got a couple rafts, and we have kayaks and things. So his quote, I wrote an article for a Distinctly Montana magazine, quoted him. He said, it was something along the lines of, there's no stress on the river. You can't be thinking about work. You can't be wondering what's for dinner. You can't be worried about something going on in a relationship, because you have to focus on navigating those rapids. You can't let your mind wander. You can't think about other things. Otherwise you'd crash and tip the boat over and you'd come out the bottom of the rapids, hopefully alive.
Yeah.
He said, there's no stress on the river. It's relaxing because you're so focused on something that a lot of people find terrifying.
That's
so
amazing.
All those things, I need to do better about taking a journal out into the nature with me, just because I have a lot of ideas that go through, but I don't have a way of recording them. And like you said earlier, if you don't write it down, you think, oh, I'll remember it when I get home, and then you don't.
Or you get a little snippet of it. You're like, where?
Yeah, it gives something about, and I can't remember. It's like when you wake up from a dream and you're like, oh, that was amazing. That was such a fun dream. And 10 minutes later, you're like, I can't even remember what that dream was about.
Oh, it's so brutal. I hate that so much. Yes, that happens. Oh, man.
But a lot of what it does too is it overflows into my writing business as well. I have all these adventures that I've been on, so I can pull stories from those and talk about them, weave them into other written things. And even if it's like Shane's story, I think I wove some of my own stuff in there from his perspective. It's like in the book we say something along the lines of, I have a friend that, and then he tells one of my stories. Basically, I was like, I want to tell this story in your book. And so I put that in there. It was him telling the story, but it was actually my story. So it was me telling the story through him.
Right. No, that's awesome. And then it could be, it could be Shane's got a lot of friends with stories that get in.
And another friend.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so cool, man. All right, where can people find out more and and get the book when it's ready?
Yeah, so they can go to havocmindset.com. Pretty much everything is there, and that's HAVOC mindset.com. And you can sign up for any of our challenges. We have crash courses on there when it comes to, like, if you want to just kind of start by doing some of the self-development work on your own. We have different crash courses that are pulled from our program. And we also have the Academy of Hard Knocks, which is a group coaching program. You can sign up for that there as well. That should be launching here pretty soon. We'll be opening up doors for that. And then you can find me on Shane Havoc Mindset on Instagram, on TikTok. If you want to look me up on Facebook and, follow me on there, it's Shane Fichter or Shane Havoc Fichter. I have 2 pages on there, but and I'm sure Scott Sery's on Facebook too, if you're looking for someone to write your book. And, pretty much I'm not really hard. I don't think we're that hard to find. You can pretty much find it. Yeah, there's no other Havoc Mindset out there. So, yeah, I love that. But how we found Havoc Mindset actually is the interesting thing is my fight name was Shane Havoc Fichter.
And there we go.
Yeah, and then though, as we started diving into the book and everything like that, it just came forth, and people were like, well, why is it Havoc Mindset? Because that seems like chaos, right? Well, what Havoc Mindset means is we all have this havoc from our past that we tell ourselves that we're not good enough because of these things that have happened in our past, or failures that we had, or one time where we hit rock bottom or whatever. We create these limiting beliefs, when in all actuality, the lessons that you learn in life, right, experience, is going to be the best school and the best knowledge that you're going to get. So the actual thought of you not being good enough actually means that you're going to be greater than other people that haven't been through these hard situations. And here's an example. One of my coaching clients, he used to get pretty beat by his dad, right? He was pretty abused by his dad, and it crushed his confidence level. It crushed him feeling like he was good enough ever. He always felt like an imposter, and he wasn't strong. He wasn't confident. And he was like, man, how is my dad beating the hell out of me going to be my superpower? Like, how is that going to make me unique and great? And I was like, well, think about it. If you can overcome all these mental things that you're going through and excel beyond this hard situation that happened in your life, how many other people can you help that have been through that same hard situation or something even like it, you know?
That stuff changes lives. You think about that
It
ripple
does.
effect, right? So that guy now, right? So he comes to grips with this. He does the healing. He, becomes of service to other people. And because of everything he's been through, he can totally identify. They're like, oh, that guy gets me. So whatever he's helping them with, like that, all right, and then the people that they impact, like that is insane. It's so cool to see that, the massive impact you can have through this.
Imagine the ripple too, if everybody realized that if they could help everybody that was 5 years prior, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, one of my coaches said to me, he's like, because a lot of people, when they get into the coaching space, or even people like judge other people and think, well, how are you a coach? Like, what makes you qualified? Blah, blah, blah. A coach, your perfect client is you 5 years ago.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you don't have to be Tony Robbins.
Right.
You just have to coach this guy that's in the position that you used to be in to get where you're at now. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Yes. 100%. That is,
Yeah.
man. Like, be that coach that you wish you had 5 years prior.
Exactly.
Wow, this is going to be crazy. Really, really good. I'm so
Thank you.
excited for your book to come out, and that's awesome. All right.
Oh, and if they want to reserve the book and get on the list, they can go to team@havocmindset.com, and they can just email there, say, hey, I want to, reserve a book. We'll take their name down, their email, and they'll get a discounted price the moment the book comes out. So
that's cool. Say that again. team@havocmindset.com.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm gonna hopping on there as soon as we get off this time.
Heck yeah. I love that. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you so much, guys. I love your story. I love what you're doing. This is like a redemption story. Like, all that stuff that happens to people, on and on and on. It's just like, it's enough to beat them down into bloody pulp. There's nothing left. And you have
it never stops. It never stops either.
No,
like,
it takes different, different flavors.
You get better at dealing with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But man, to have that sense of this can all have worked, for you, not to you.
Yes.
It all happened for you.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for being here. This is a very exciting thing to hear about.
Thank you for having us, Sue.
Yeah. Thanks.
Absolutely.